Hey, friends. Welcome to the Raising Boys and Girls podcast. I'm Sissy Goff.
And I'm David Thomas, and we're so glad you joined us for this conversation. Let's dive in.
Merry week of Christmas, David.
Merry week of Christmas to you.
I can't believe we're here.
I can't either.
And it is so fun to envision you all listening as you're driving to relatives' houses for the holidays, or wrapping gifts, or making a casserole, crying in your closet, whatever you might be doing currently.
Whatever state you're in, it's okay.
Yes, it is.
We're cheering you on.
Yes, we are.
And we thought it could be helpful if we camped out for a few minutes and just talked about some good reminders that we would love to give you.
10 tips for navigating the holiday season.
That we hope could give way to more enjoyment and more connection.
And more freedom.
Yes.
Less crying in the closet.
Yes. So can I kick it off?
Yes, please.
All right. First tip. We want to normalize that the holidays are big for kids, and big in a lot of ways. Kids are holding excitement and disruption and overstimulation all at once.
As are we.
And you may be as well. Yes. Their bodies don't have the margin we think they should, because their routines have shifted, their sleep has changed, and they're probably in a heightened state emotionally. So we want to keep those things in mind. And a great reframe for you as parents would be, my child isn't giving me a hard time. My child is having a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say it again, and I want you to think about writing that down on a note card that maybe you put up on the bathroom mirror or hide in your sock drawer, that serves as a great reminder over the next couple of weeks. My child isn't giving me a hard time. My child is having a hard time. And a simple phrase that we would encourage you to consider using is, lots of big feelings happen during special times.
Yes. And I think it can be helpful to remind grandparents of the same truth, because sometimes they can be a little less patient, a little less compassionate, and have a harder time remembering what it was like when you were little and having big feelings around the holidays. So those statements, peppered with a lot of grace, can be a great thing to say over and over to your mom or dad or in-laws who might be struggling a little bit in the process. Number 2, we want to prepare kids for what's coming. And helping kids anticipate does a lot to ward off anxiety for all of us, for any of us to know what's coming. And so talking through what's going to happen on the drive to, or even the night before, spending time at a relative's house, opening gifts, all the different things that are going to create these big feelings. Kids feel more capable when they know what to expect, what choices they can make, and what transitions are ahead. Sometimes these transitions, as we all know, are the hardest parts for kids. And so talking through who's going to be at that specific gathering, there's going to be time to play in this window, and then we're going to sit at the table, and I would like for you to sit at the table all the way through dessert, or I want you to sit at the table for 10 minutes, and no, you can't have a screen at the Christmas dinner table, or whatever the conversations need to be to prepare them for what's coming, can be so helpful for them. And I think really do a lot to settle their nervous systems. Other holiday previews, like we mentioned, here's who's going to be there. Here's when we'll open gifts. And here's one quiet spot to go when you need a break. And we would add to that, we have talked a lot about, and I think you have a blueprint in Strong and Smart for a travel calm down corner. So to have in their little backpack, or a pencil pouch even, to have some stress balls. What else would you recommend having there?
Thinking putty is so helpful to be able to work through, have a sensory experience.
Depending on their age, something they can draw on, something they can color, a journal they can write in. And we would add to that also to have a code word. Y'all know we talk so much about code words, but to have a statement or a word or a signal that your kids can give you when they're starting to feel overstimulated and might need a break can be so helpful for them. And then it doesn't have to be a big deal or something that they feel embarrassed about, but you can just step outside together. They can take 4 deep breaths. They can remind you of something that helps anchor them. You can do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Y'all know our favorite grounding game. 5 things they see, 4 things they hear, 3 things they feel, 2 things they smell, 1 thing they taste. They can have a Bible verse they say to themselves. You can take 3 deep breaths together. All the things y'all know that we talk about all the time. But a code word can be a really safe, helpful exit strategy for just a few moments. And again, it's something they're prepared for that they know they can use if they need it. And I think those things, all of those things really are especially going to help anxious kids or kids who get dysregulated easily. And again, a lot of kids are going to lean that way in the holidays, and we might too. And I think they pick up on our emotions often too, which we're going to circle back to in just a few minutes.
Thirdly, we want to remind you to anchor gifts in gratitude. And we want to talk about this in a couple of different ways. Kids don't intuitively know how to respond if they get a gift they're not really excited about or a gift that maybe they already have. That happens often. And
Can
so,
I add something
please.
as you're talking about that? I so did not like attention as a child that it wasn't even about that it wasn't the gift I wanted, just everybody watching me while I opened that gift. I remember my face getting red, and I always felt like I couldn't give a big enough excited response.
That's so good.
So that can be an issue too.
Well, and can I tell a story too?
I'd love to hear.
So I had a delightful great-grandmother who gave all the adult men in our family handkerchiefs, all the boys in our family 1 pair of Navy socks.
No.
So it was like a series. Everybody kind of got the same thing, and it was not a very exciting thing. And I remember my mom practicing with me something that I could say that felt genuine. And so we practiced me saying, I wear these every single Sunday. And that was 100% true. I wore Navy socks to church. Now, I wasn't excited to dress up for church, and I wasn't excited about the Navy socks, but I could say something that was true and allowed her to know that that gift would be put to good use. And so I felt prepared for those moments. Just so much of what you're saying, we feel overwhelmed and we feel unprepared and how to navigate that moment. So I think practicing, we talk so much about how kids are experiential learners. So rather than just being upset when they didn't deliver on a response of gratitude, or as Sissy was saying, as big as we might have hoped the gratitude might have been, let's practice so they feel more prepared for those moments of how to walk it out.
Yes. Also, it can be really helpful to talk through family dynamics ahead of time. Now, not to spill all your laundry about your relationship with the uncle that you're not connected to at all, or any of those specifics that younger ears don't need to hear. But at the same time, to say, hey, you know what? Your cousins might be allowed to be on screens more than you are, and that's okay. We're still going to stick to what we do as a family together. Or remember, your Uncle Tom can be a little bit loud, and sometimes when he is, you can start to feel overwhelmed. And in those times, you come find me, and here's what we'll do together. We're going to use the code word. Or even talking with your spouse about having a code word yourself, so that if you start to get dysregulated, he'll understand why you're stepping away from cooking whatever it is or the table. But just, I think, acknowledging those things with honesty with each other, and some of them with the kids that you love, can really help, because I think kids start to pick up on family dynamics really early. And I think it's helpful to know, even for them, sometimes when I'm around our big family, I can start to get frustrated, and that's not who I want to be. Or I can think of a family, even for an example, where this amazing mom, they were all going to see her parents for the holidays. And this girl would say to me in counseling, my grandparents scare me sometimes because they talk so differently than my mom and dad. And they're from a different part of the country. They spoke more loudly and more directly. And so even for her mom to say, honey, remember, we'll call them Gigi and Papa. I don't remember what their names were, but Gigi and Papa talk differently sometimes, and they sound more direct, and it doesn't mean they don't love you. And so just helping talk honestly about those things, I think, even can not only help kids be prepared, but also validate their intuition, because they're going to pick up on some things intuitively. And we don't want to say, oh, they love you, I don't know what you're talking about. Or you felt like my sister was mad at me, and that's not true. instead, you could say, siblings have trouble sometimes, even when they're grown-ups, that we're validating, we're talking through those things in healthy, age-appropriate ways. And I think being aware yourself, I remember, I think I was in probably my early 30s when I finally realized that sometimes when I would go home and stay at home, I acted the last age I was when I lived at home. And so I would become an adolescent when I would go home to my house. And so again, talking with your spouse, or if you're a single parent, having a friend you can text back at home that you can check in and be aware of even what's getting stirred up in you in terms of family dynamics. Because truth is, we're all going to be stirred in one way or another by somebody. And that can spill over more easily than we mean for it to. And so thinking through that, number one, where am I feeling like I'm a kid? And number two, what's mine to do? Back to that question that we love that Suzanne uses all the time. What's mine to do in this moment? Because I think we can take on a lot of roles in the midst of our family of origin, especially that aren't ours. And so how can I come back to, I want to stay in my lane and what's mine to do? For example, you can say to yourself, not my circus, not my clowns, because there are going to be some clowns.
And now a quick break to hear from one of our incredible sponsors who make the podcast available.
Okay, David, be honest. Are you ready for the holidays?
Ready? Not even close. I thought we were in the pumpkin spice part of the year, and suddenly we're hosting Christmas. Connie went straight into Wayfair mode. New lamps for our bedroom, new lamps for the guest room, new bedding, new rug. Even the guest bed looks like it belongs in a hotel.
She is my kind of woman. I did the same thing last weekend for my nephews. I hopped on Wayfair for one quick gift and somehow bought inflatables the size of a small boat for the lake house lawn. In fact, it is a small boat with Santa. The boys think it's the best Christmas display ever.
I love that. Wayfair really saves the day for last-minute people like us. Fast shipping, great prices, and stuff that actually looks good.
Totally. I found everything I needed for gifts and home. Throw blankets, holiday decor, kitchen stuff for hosting. It's all in one place.
And no stress. The delivery's free, the options are endless, and everything arrives before you can even find the tape for your wrapping paper.
Amen to that.
Get last-minute hosting essentials, gifts for all your loved ones, and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home.
That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
And now back to the show. All right, tip number 5, create a holiday rhythm, not a rigid schedule. Now, we will start by reminding you, you know this, but kids do thrive in rhythm and routine and structure and sameness, and we want to offer the great flexibility and surprise of all of what this week can bring, while also thinking about how we could fold in some rhythm, some routine, some sameness and structure that allows kids to feel safe. And I think
for all of the holiday break, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's good for all of us. And so think on a template like one event per day, one calm activity between big, busy outings, a daily reboot time. So maybe it's some quiet reading, maybe it's some room time, maybe it's doing some art, some kind of opportunity for reset that I think is not just good for kids, but good for us too. We're going to come back to that in a couple of minutes. The equation we want you to think about is rhythm over perfection. Tell them about another one.
We would say sometimes you might sense that something's going on with your kids, and it is easy to come at them with a lot of questions to get them to talk about what's going on inside of them. But it can be really helpful to keep emotional check-ins simple with kids. And so, especially when you're actually at the gathering, to ask simple questions like, are you green, yellow, or red right now? Or I have read even, are you Pooh, Tigger, or Eeyore, which is a really fun way to ask it. You could also have them show you with their hands like a rising level, their level of energy. And then follow it up with, how can we bring it down a little bit? Let's take 3 deep breaths together. Or show me with your fingers how overwhelmed you feel. And that will give you an indicator. Do you need to pull out the pencil pouch travel calming kit? Do you need to go for a quick walk around the block? Do you need to go grab your grandmother's dog and pull them aside and pet the dog for a few minutes? What is it that you could do to help them come back down? And it teaches them awareness more in the midst of that.
Well, that's a great transition into the next tip, which is to build in recovery moments for yourself. So we've been talking about a lot of ideas to help the kids we love, but let's talk for a few minutes about you. So you need to refill too, particularly if, to Sissy's point about a lot that gets stirred with family, if you're doing a lot of heavy emotional lifting during this time because you're in the presence of a lot of family and there are a lot of dynamics in play and maybe a lot of things that are just stirring inside of you. So what would it look like for you to have some small, doable practices every day, like 5 minutes alone in the car before going into a family gathering? Could be a great one to practice. Or we have been coaching you all along in this podcast about doing square breathing with the girls you love and combat breathing with the boys you love. And maybe everybody could do a little breathing before we walk in. Maybe we could listen to some music, close our eyes, sit still for a couple of minutes, and have some great conversation about how we feel about that reset and regulation. Go for a walk with a friend. Start your morning with a mantra, and we'd invite you to go back and listen to your numbers episode where I think we gave every parent and every number something they could say back to themselves.
Yes.
Like Enneagram 1 parents out there, good enough. The Christmas wrapping is good enough. The decorating I've done is good enough. The breakfast casserole I prepared is good enough. How I showed up with family today was good enough. What would it look like for you to be saying that back to yourself with regularity? Go back and revisit that episode, which just could be some good reminders about what's most true about you. And then permission to simplify.
Yes.
Fewer gifts, fewer events, fewer expectations. Parents taking care of themselves is the best gift they have to give their kids, not whatever's wrapped under the tree.
And as we're talking about all these things, we know there are a good bit of you who are grieving this holiday season. And acknowledging that grief with honesty is really important, naming it for us and for the kids that we love, because they're aware of it. They're aware when you're feeling it, they're missing the person or the family unit or whatever you might be grieving the loss of together. And I think it helps kids feel much safer when we can talk about that. And so what does it look like in that way to honor the past or the person and to even create new rituals together? And I think it could be that we have a candle we light in our house for a person that we love and are missing. It could be that we make sure that we tell stories about, my favorite memory with my mom over Christmas. So me, Terry, saying that out loud. But whoever it is that we're missing, that we include them still in the holidays, because not only do we believe they're there, but your kids are longing for that too. And so how can you acknowledge and fold that grief in a way that feels hopeful to kids? And if you're not on the side that it feels hopeful, if you feel like it's really fresh, then we have seen so many families who throw all the traditions out the window for a year or 2 years, and they do something totally different. And that's okay too. Your kids, as in all things, take your lead. And whatever is going to help you feel most centered and like yourself and like you're free to show up, then that's what's important for the holidays. And they can look entirely different. And so we want to acknowledge those things and acknowledge the past and help them know, even in the midst of grief, we're still going to enjoy each other and we're still a family. And so, we talk so much about families who are going through divorce, about creating new rituals for kids that they feel like my family's still okay and we're still going to love the holidays and we're still going to be together, because what matters the most is their time with you. It's not who else is there and all the different traditions and rituals you have. It matters the most that they're connected to you. And so we can do that without a lot of the things that sometimes we feel like we have to have and are worried about letting go of. And so acknowledging that grief, being open to new experiences, and just sharing in all of it together, I think is probably the most important in light of all of that. And to talk about it. I mean, to say it out loud. I miss Mimi, or I miss whoever it is in the midst of the grief.
All right. A ninth idea we'd love to talk about is managing gift overload, which I think can happen for a lot of kids. And so a few reminders you could give kids, a few reminders we want to give you right now is that gifts can be opened slowly. And there's even some great benefit to opening gifts slowly that allows us to really not just have the experience of joy, but the experience of gratitude, which is a good lead-in into the next idea of you can take breaks. So maybe after big important gifts from family members, we might want to pause and make a video thanking them while the excitement is fresh and allows us just not to move straight toward the next gift, but to experience both the enjoyment and the gratitude. You don't have to play with every toy right away. And so these reminders, again, I think are not just good for kids, but for us as well. And think about even connecting back to the rhythms reminder of it could be great to even think about particular rhythms of we might open 2 gifts and then have breakfast together. We might open 2 more gifts and then read a book together. We might open 2 more gifts so that there are these pauses at different points along the way that I think allow all kids to regulate, but particularly for those of you who have kids who've got some sensory hurdles and just struggle more with regulation, the slowing down and the quieter moments, I think are going to help them tremendously.
And then lastly, we would just say that we want you to remember that the holidays don't have to be magical as much as they need to be manageable for kids and for us. They don't have to be perfect. And if you haven't gotten a copy of our friend Nero Feliciano's book, All Is Calm-ish, that feels like the truth of it. And that's a great book to maybe take with you wherever you're going for this holiday season. But just to remember that sometimes I think we put so much pressure on ourselves that it really pulls the enjoyment out of the holiday experience. And so even as you wake up Christmas morning, for you to think about what it looks like to be freed up to enjoy and be present, it really is the best gift that you can give your kids. And we would love to read a prayer for you in just a minute. But before we do, will you say what y'all's Christmas tradition is that I think it would be great for everybody to get a copy of this book and read out loud together, because you can even get it digitally if you don't have time to go to the bookstore. Will you say what y'all do as a family?
So our tradition was that the kids would come downstairs, we would open stockings, and then we would take a pause, just like we talked about a few minutes ago, and we would have breakfast together before we opened any other gifts, and we would read from one of our all-time favorite books, the Jesus Storybook Bible, The Light of the Whole World. That chapter is just stunning. I have yet to date to make it all the way through without crying. And so we had the great joy of interviewing the delightful Sally Lloyd-Jones and ask her to read it aloud. And so you could read together. You could have Sally Lloyd-Jones read it to your whole family. But it's a beautiful way to frame all of what that day is about.
No matter how old your kids are.
No matter how old.
And we want to end this conversation by reading a prayer from Every Moment Holy, which we love. And you can find this on their website. And it is called A Liturgy for the Wrapping of Christmas Gifts. Just imagining that might be where you are and what you're doing right now. We would love to pray this over you. O great giver of all good gifts, I sit amongst rolls of wrapping paper, tissue, bags, and bows, presents spread before me, ready to be concealed in shrouds of joyful mystery and nestled for a time beneath the tree.
The brief veiling of gifts from the wondering eyes of those who will receive them is an act intended to heighten excitement and to kindle hopes hopes that might find fulfillment when these festive secrets are finally revealed.
There is always in us that which delights in surprise.
And while these gifts might provide a passing happiness, I pray they would also stir the hearts of their recipients in some deeper way, as small echoes of a greater grace.
For you first lavished upon us your astonishing love in the person of Jesus. You wrapped your gift, O God, in the form of a baby. And then, in that baby become man, you unveiled glory upon glory, miracles, marvelous words, deeds of compassion and mercy, strong promises, death defeated, life eternal. The revelation of yourself as a dear Father, longing to adopt us orphans as daughters and sons. Indeed, we love because God first loved us. In our giving of Christmas gifts, we but seek to imitate your generosity.
So let our stumbling attempts to mirror the eternal charities of your own lavish heart be undertaken in a spirit of glad celebration and as an act of worship.
Christ, you are the gift of God who gave all, gives all, is all. So let these my small presents be offered in great love and received as humble expressions of a holy hospitality and reminders of a divine kindness.
Now may the lives of all your children be evermore marked by loving generosity, manifest in daily acts of practical service to others, O Lord.
And may my own heart in particular be kept less and less like a wrapped and sealed mystery, but be freely offered instead as an open gift through which the radiant love of Christ is made ever more visible. Amen. David, what a team we have that we get to call friends who help make this podcast possible. Chris Starrett, our engineer.
Our management team at KCH.
And we are thrilled to be a part of the That Sounds Fun network.
Our music was created by the insanely talented Dave Haywood of Lady A.
And if this podcast felt helpful to you, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, all the things.
We are grateful for you and cheering you on always.